everybody, welcome to Bones Collector, and today on Bones Collector I have a special video I've been wanting to make for a while, and it's my top 10 complaints that I have, or suggestions that I have, which is a better way to say it, for board game publishers. And these items that I'm going to discuss are things that have bothered me to the point where I have sold games because of these issues. So I want to cover them, and maybe board game publishers can see this video, and maybe some of you, if we get that snowball rolling on some of these things, we can get these changed in gaming so that the games that we do purchase are more usable to us as gamers. So here we go with the number 10 item on this list. Neoprene mats. Now, board game publishers, if you're going to make a neoprene mat for your board game, a board game you're going to sell to us, it has to fit in the box. I do not want to keep a special tube for a mat that I'm going to use for a board game. It has to go in the box. I mean, the boards always went in the box. If you're going to make a neoprene mat for a game that you're publishing, please make sure it'll fit in the box. Like Furnace, I think we have a play mat for Furnace. Viceroy, I have a play mat for Viceroy, and it adds to the flavor of the game just a little bit, just enough. It helps organize the cards, and it just makes it wonderful. But I wouldn't keep those games, or I wouldn't have those mats if they didn't fit in the box. So publishers, please make sure your neoprene mats fit in the box. Number 9, inserts that actually work. I have had several games that the insert, you ask yourself, what in the world were they thinking? This will not fit. And one of them that I recently, that Lori and I are playing right now, is Adventure Tactics. It has a insert in it. They just won't hold everything that they published in the game, because they, for some reasons that I will talk about further up the list, but that insert did not work for the game. It takes a lot to get everything back in there, and that can be frustrating for a lot of people because you may damage some of the components if you're trying to force that stuff back in the box. So please give us a box that that is the right size and an insert that actually works. Number 8, player aids on tarot-sized cards, and please publish enough for all player counts. When you have a player aid for a board game, it's very helpful to have those, first of all, and we love it when you do that, publishers. Thank you so much. But put that player aid on a tarot-sized card, not on a mini card, not on a playing-sized card, on a tarot-sized card, and have enough of them for all players. If your game plays 4 players, have 4 of them. If it plays 5, have 5 of them, and so on. Because we all like to use those, and you don't want to pass them around the table. That just slows the game down. You want to have those available and accessible to you as you play the game, so that would be wonderful for you to pay attention to that, publishers. Number 7, game boards that actually lay flat. I have games that after a while the board will warp and not lay flat, and that, you have pieces that you're putting on the board and they're going to tip over and frustrate players, and it almost detracts from the gameplay itself. And the one that comes to mind is Iki by We're French. We love that game, a wonderful game, a wonderful publishing job, other than the board. Yeah, we had to store it vertically, and the board eventually warped. We laid it down for a certain period of time, and it did flatten back out. But please, publishers, the game board's very important. It's where all the action is. It's what immerses the players in the game. Make sure it lays flat, and yeah, just make sure it lays flat. Okay, publishers, when you're putting dice in your games, please make sure they are a minimum of 16 millimeter. Small dice makes no sense, and there are a lot of games that have small dice in them. The one that comes to mind for me right now is Legends of Andor, a game which I love and is still in my library, but it aggravates me that the dice are tiny. It's just irritating. I just can't stand that. Make those dice big enough to...
we've replaced so many of them.
Yeah, and to be quite fair, in Legends of Andor, we did replace the dice in that with dice that we purchased from Chessex or whoever, and put them in the game. But we shouldn't have to do that. Make your game properly and publish it correctly and put some big dice in there. And I have mixed feelings about plastic dice because we have enough plastic on the planet. Wood dice are fine for me, but just make them large. Number 5, game boxes. There's nothing more aggravating to me than getting a game that I love so much and having the game box be made out of that Kleenex box material. And the ones that come to mind for me right now are games by CGE, Czech Games Edition, because I love Sanctum, and I just got that game not that long ago. I love that game. I mean, it shot up into my top 100, way up there. I love playing it, and there's a lot in the box. There's a nice publishing job in there, but the box itself is, you can just bend the sides, it's just flimsy. And same with Lost Ruins of Arnak. That game was still, it was in a flimsy Kleenex, I call them Kleenex boxes. And back when Laura and I were young, we used to ride motorcycles out of Harley-Davidson, and we'd go out with couples and ride to cider mills in Michigan. And when new couples would join us and say, well, what kind of motorcycle helmet should we buy? Well, it depends. If you've got a $10 head, get a $10 helmet. If you've got a $300 head, buy a $300 helmet. Well, that's the same for you board game publishers. If you've got a crappy game, put that crappy Kleenex box on it. If you've got a good game, wrap it in a good package, a nice sturdy box so that it can be protected in shipping, because lots of things get damaged in shipping nowadays. And board games, man, I tell you, I've had so many of them show up to my house with split corners. Queen Games, Steffenfeld City Collection, the first wave that Lori and I backed, and I would not back the second one because those showed up to my house with split corners. Emailed Queen Games, they did nothing for me. So I'm really on a rampage about game boxes. If you have a good board game publishers, you think you got a winner, please put it in a good box. Thank you. We'll be looking forward to that in the future. Small print on cards and rule books is just so detrimental to people. I don't know if publishers don't understand how many people have limited eyesight or have to wear glasses, and it makes it so difficult to learn a game if the rule book has small print in it or if the components themselves have small print on them. And I'm talking about small print on cards, and that's very, very frustrating and difficult for people. And when you are publishing a game, take a look at that stuff. And the biggest culprit that I can think of off the top of my head in my library itself is Mage Knight, a game I'll never sell. To me, it's the penultimate fantasy adventure board game, Mage Knight. And I'll never sell it, but the rule book is a sin. It's terribly small, all the font in it. It's a good rule book, and it has a couple in it. One is the Learn to Play rule book, and the other is the actual rules. But the print in is so tiny, I would just like to roll it up and smack the guy on top of the head that put that in that box. Are you kidding me? It was just terrible. I would actually pay to have a new rule book put out by WizKids, a Mage Knight rule book with large font. It's terrible to do that to people. So please, pay attention to the font size of the game components and the rule book.
Like Everdell.
Thank you very much. Everdell was one of the cards were absolutely small print. Okay, number 3, discontinue using mini cards. Totally. I hate those things. They're in Relic, they're in Arkham Horror 3rd Edition, Prophecy, an adventure game from Volata Chivato from years ago, uses mini cards. When you use a mini card, guess what? Everything on it's mini. The art's mini, the print and font and everything is mini. There's no reason to use them other than to cut costs. Hey, with the price of board games, why would you care? You charge whatever you have to charge. If your game is good, publish it properly, it'll probably sell. Please discontinue using those mini cards. They're horrible. There's just no reason to use them whatsoever. Number 2, stop using paper player mats. And this game right here was one that made me really wish that they would stop doing that. I love the Magnificent. This is a wonderful game, man. It's gorgeous. It's fun to play. It's an excellent board game. I doubt if I could ever get rid of this game. It's just absolutely fabulous. But when I was playing it, it's those paper player mats, the corners of them are starting to get dinged up, and it just irritates me. A nice thick piece of cardboard for those player mats would have gone much further in the look of the game. It would have gone much further in the immersiveness of the game, and I just feels cheap when you do that, when you put those paper player mats in board games. Please stop using those. And my number 1 complaint, and the thing that you probably hear more from me than anything else on this channel, is publishers. Please publish these games in full living color. I get so tired of games that come with those gray plastic and even colored plastic. I just got one, Fortune and Glory. I just got it in the mail today, the revised edition. It's now available at Game Nerds, and hey, thank you Game Nerds for shipping that to me, wrapped in bubble wrap in a big box, and that game wasn't getting damaged. When you order a game from Game Nerds, it's going to show up in great shape, and that's what I like. We just sold a game, Blood Rage, and the biggest reason I got rid of that game was the gray plastic that's in the box. Number one, it makes the box huge. Number two, it's gray and it detracts from the gameplay rather than add to it. When you could have made that same game, I would have kept it. Had it full color acrylic standees or even cardboard standees, I would have kept that game. But it just does nothing for me to look at gray plastic in any of my board games.
Well, I'm not going to paint.
I can't stand it. Yeah, we're just not going to paint. I've played board games since 1963. You know, it's probably the first time I played a board game, and I've never painted a piece in any board game that I've ever played, and I'm never going to. I know there's a lot of people that paint. Hey, that's great. If that's your hobby, that's great. My hobby is playing board games, and if the publisher would just publish the game in full color and then have a separate package where people could buy gray plastic miniatures that they could paint for their game, hey, do that. That way everybody's happy. But I'm not going to keep a game that's got all that gray plastic in it, nor am I going to pay MSRP for a game that has all that in it. And Fortune and Glory, the game I referred to earlier, came to us today, and it's got a bunch of little plastic pieces in it. They're different colors, red, green, and purple or something. You know, I'd rather had acrylic standees for all of that stuff from Flying Frog Productions. If you watch this channel, you know I'm going to complain about it continually, and I need all of you to complain about it continually. If people want to paint those little miniatures, publish a separate package that they can purchase with the game that is in a separate box so the rest of us don't have to deal with it. But I like my games in full color, and I enjoy them more when they're in full color. And they're more immersive, they're more fun. It takes me away to a faraway place when the game is in full color. So please, publishers, consider stop doing that. And they're gonna, I mean, all that plastic's gonna end up in a dump somewhere anyway, and it's gonna take 1,000,000 years for it to go away. The game I was referring to earlier, Adventure Tactics, Damien's Tower. The game box is fine, the insert is fine, but they took the time to make the heroes out of plastic, and it takes up enough space in that box that you can't get everything back in it. If they had just omitted that, there would have been enough room in that box for everything. Instead, they opted to put that gray plastic in there. I don't like them. I never have liked them. My game that I just talked about, Sanctum, it comes with 4 plastic heroes in the box. They're different colors. There's just 4 of them. Why wouldn't you paint them? Maybe I'm the only one that feels like this. I don't think so. I just don't like all that plastic in the box. It makes the game box bigger, and it does nothing to enhance gameplay. There, that's it. That's my rant. And those are my 10 things for board game publishers. I hope that they see this video and think and mull over some of the things that we have pointed out on the Bones Collector show here. And hey, I love every one of you guys. What irritates you about some board game publishing problems? There's got to be some things out there, some publishing problems that I didn't think of that maybe perhaps bother you. Let me know what they are in the comments, please. I love hearing from every one of you. Lori and I try to get back to all of you when you leave a comment. We enjoy hearing from you. We love every one of you. We're glad you're board gaming. I hope you're playing a board game today. And we'll see you the next time on the Bones Collector. Keep on board gaming. It's the best hobby on the planet if they would just fix those 10 things. Bye-bye.